Last Friday, the Seoul Family Court ruled that American adoptee Kara Boss, born Kang Mee-sook, is the biological daughter of a man in Korea. This was a landmark ruling that acknowledged adoptees' legal rights to find their family roots here in Korea. This was all in an effort to find her birth mother, but so far, even with this court ruling, it seems obstacles remain. To tell us more about her story and what this ruling could mean to the adoptee community, we have Ms. Kara Boss herself with us now in the studio. Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you for the invitation.
So, Ms. Boss, you are in Korea currently because of that paternity case we mentioned. The Seoul court legally confirmed that this man we mentioned earlier is indeed your father. What went through your mind when you heard that ruling?
I mean, obviously, since my Korean is very limited, I actually didn't understand right away what he said. But when my lawyer grabbed my hand and said, that gave me the indication that I had won. And to be honest, everything that I've gone through up until that point was so difficult that there was still this small doubt. Even though she had said that it would be 100% that I would win, there was still a small doubt that it wouldn't work, that it wouldn't be possible. And so it just gave me a sense of vindication for all of the hurt and the tears and just everything that I'd put into this search for my mother and all the restraints that were actually worked against me. So that was really a true feeling of victory in that sense.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your journey? How did you end up finding your father, and why were you looking for your parents in the first place?
So I am, in every sense of the word, a very happy adoptee and a very successful adoption story. I assimilated very well in America. I have a great relationship with my family. I never was interested in my past at all, or even Korea, to be honest, until I had my daughter and she reached the age of around 2 years old, the age that I was when I was abandoned. And when you build such an intensive relationship with a child and build such an unconditional amount of love for this child, you can, I guess, reflect and see yourself for once. And I think that is what kind of happened, is I saw how much effort and intense love I had for her, and I could imagine my own mother having that with me as well. And what that would mean to make such an excruciatingly painful choice, what circumstances that would have brought her to that point, and also the amount of guilt and shame she probably still feels to this day of thinking about that child that she abandoned. And I also thought of myself as that 2-year-old, what kind of trauma that actually would have resulted in. Because before that point, I'd always thought that I was just this little baby and didn't know anything, and so therefore wouldn't be very traumatized. But when I saw my daughter, who was just a little person and who could talk and knew very clearly who her parents were and definitely who her mother was, because she hated everybody else, it made me understand that child was also a little person. I was a little person. And I was then not only left from my entire family, I lost them all, but I also lost the country and the culture and everything that actually forms the identity of what we become as adults, I think, later in life. And so that trauma was finally recognized for the first time in my life. And that's what really caused me to start this journey.
How did you end up finding your father then? I know you originally started looking for your mother, but then through that process, you ended up finding your father as well.
Yes, I have honestly never once thought about looking for my father. So that's very ironic from this search, actually, that I found him. I think because when you're younger, as an adoptee, you're always told that your mother was probably single or poor and she couldn't have taken care of you, and that's why you were abandoned. So there's always that sense of always the mother is kind of the focus. And I had looked from 2016, so originally when I started, I asked for my original file. I went to Korea in 2017. I did a DNA test back in 2016 as well. We hung up flyers. And so I made trips in 2017 and 2018 to do physical searches, because that's honestly the only way, if you have zero information in your file about your parents, that you can maybe have a stroke of luck of finding somebody. But those journeys were both fruitless in the sense that there was no information found. Nobody came forward. I was even on SBS, local and national news. And the only thing I did find out actually is that my file was incomplete. So there were new documents that suddenly surfaced. I realized that my name, at least that's what's written in my file. To be honest, I still don't know if that's really my name because a lot of documents have actually been falsified. And I just recently met another adoptee who, in her file, it also said that she said her name and her age, but she was found at 6 months old. So then it made me question, like, is my name and my age what was said in my document? Is that even my name and age, Kang Mee-sook? And was I really two then? I don't know. So all of those journeys were fruitless. And I also found out that, that a domestic family had tried to adopt me as well. So that was quite eye-opening because there's always been rumors about different things like that happening, and then international adoption kind of trumps it. But I never had recognized that before. And then when I got the DNA match in January 2019, that was really the true first lead to a biological relationship.
And that was quite by chance as well, wasn't it?
Yes. Korean National did the DNA test, and just for fun, actually. And Korean nationals don't usually do those kind of tests because you guys all apparently know that you're Korean. So there's no reason to check ethnicity. Sure. And so that was a real miracle. And that he was also open and willing to talk to me.
But then with that, you found out that person you got in contact with was the grandson or the nephew of your father, your birth father.
Yeah, he's actually the grandson. So my relationship was estimated to be either a cousin or an aunt relationship. And that's where we started to delve into his family tree to figure out where I fit in. But during that process is when we realized that his extended family wasn't as open and sincere as he was of delving into the past and finding out these secrets.
Sure. So there were many roadblocks in trying to communicate with them, even just to meet and talk, and that's why you ended up having this paternity case. I understand the agreement was that with your father and his family was that if the court ruled in your favor that he would meet with you on Monday, even though he legally had no obligation to do so. That was yesterday. I understand you did meet him, but it wasn't necessarily a happy meeting. Can you tell us more?
Yes, unfortunately, in legal court, you cannot force someone to meet you. So honestly, I think it was due a bit to the media pressure that was around my case, which I honestly, when I filed this lawsuit, it was only a step further in my search process. I didn't expect it to be such a big deal and that it would set precedent or that it would be landmark. I was just searching for my mother. And since the family continued to block me no matter what I did, begging, emailing, promising to be secret, to just have 5 minutes to talk with him just to see if he knew who my mother was, it was fruitless. And so with the lawsuit, it gave me this opportunity to speak with him. The family committed and we agreed no media, and under the requirements, I followed everything that they had said. And yesterday, unfortunately, last minute, they actually showed up with 2 bodyguards. So they almost canceled the meeting, and if I wouldn't allow the bodyguards to come with him, and because I had requested, my plan was just to be alone with him, just him and I would give him a letter and show videos of my past and childhood and try to make it very personal, that he would recognize me as just a girl looking for her mother. But that proved to not work. And he just didn't honestly listen. He was pretty hostile in response to my attorney. He didn't seem to really understand the whole time what was going on. I don't know if that was an act. I don't know if that was sincere. He left in probably less than 10 minutes without giving any answers whatsoever.
And he didn't say anything about your mother or anything, any useful kind of information?
Not a single thing. To be honest, I know from the family that he actually didn't even know about the lawsuit or about me until the verdict was rendered.
Right.
So for this whole year and a half.
He's in his 80s, mid-80s now, right?
He's elderly, yes. Yes.
Why do you think he's so against you finding out about your mother?
I don't necessarily know that he is. If there is some sort of cognitively, instability in him, like his family believes, then it could possibly be that he really doesn't remember. The other side is it also depends on how they portrayed me to him. If they did it in a nice way, just saying this girl is just looking for her mother, can you just help her? Or if they did it in the way saying that this girl is suing our family and causing all this ruckus and being, very evil and invading our privacy, then I can understand that he would arrive at the meeting very hostile and not open to listening to anything we said.
Let's go back to that court ruling, because it's the first of its kind here in Korea, and it's picked up a lot of coverage here as well, especially in the international media outlets. When you first began your journey to find your birth parents, did you expect to come to this point? Did you expect this kind of attention?
I didn't expect any of it. I guess I'm just a person who doesn't give up very easily. And so I just didn't accept the no because I wanted to hear from the source. If the source was going to tell me no, and that's my father, then I guess that was a different story. But to have extended family members blocking what I feel is a fundamental right to know my origins as an adoptee, and also recognizing throughout this search process that we don't have those rights whatsoever in Korea, that this was honestly just another step to be able to gain access to him. So my triumph was not actually at the verdict necessarily for myself. That was at the moment that I got the DNA test result that proved that I was his daughter, like I thought, and also the moment when I got his address, because that's what I'd been working so hard to get. And this was honestly just a way to do that, because here in Korea, you had to have proof of relationship to be able to approach him, and I didn't have that. And so then when I realized that this was actually for all adoptees in the world, honestly, a statement of, kind of standing up for that voice that doesn't exist. Because in most adoptee stories, or, you hear about the happy reunions, you hear about the troubled adoptees, but I'm not that person. I am just really a person who realizes that need, even though I have a very happy life and I'm very content, but that need to know my existence and my origins is just as important as accepting and loving the life that I have.
Sure, and this potentially opens up the doors to help other adoptees who have been picked up from Korea to find their birth parents, and hopefully it will open the doors for them. What's next for you then? As you said, your meeting with the father didn't go quite so well. Are you going to continue trying to communicate with him, or are you trying to find some other investigative routes down to find your mother?
I have zero information on my mother, so there isn't really anything else I can do. So when this breaking lead came out with the match with my nephew, that really is my only lead to my mother. And so I do hope that the family will become less hostile and that we can maybe work this out to where I can have a conversation with him. I don't want anyone else to be hurt. That wasn't my intention at all. It still isn't. I really just want to know who my mother is, and that's it. And I feel that responsibility is with my father to have at least that conversation with me alone. That shouldn't be that much to ask. I shouldn't have had to file a lawsuit to have to do that.
And finally, considering the experience, I'm not sure if I can ask this, but considering the experience that you've had with your father, do you have any concerns about meeting with your mother, how that could go, whether that could not necessarily be a happy meeting, or it could be a sad meeting as well?
I am understanding Korean culture more and more as I've gotten to know more Koreans and have gone through this birth family search, and I can understand that there may be shame and there may be that she does not want to come forward because she has a new family and children that she never told about this past. But I firmly feel that in order for this shame to not exist shrouding adoption, the only way for that change to come is if it's honestly forced. Because people on their own, I don't think, in general, want to change. And I feel that the government needs to step in and make it a legal right. And then, yes, initially it will be painful. But we're already in this pain. That isn't changing. And I feel that if it becomes a norm, that these adoptees who come back and want to just know their origins, if that becomes a norm and it's accepted, then the shame will be gone, and that can change, and we can have a new future in the Korean society, including us as Korean adoptees.
Well, Ms. Bos, thank you for sharing your story with us today. I can only hope for you that you are able to find your mother and that it can be some sort of closure or happy ending for you. And as you said, whatever happens, your case has possibly opened up the doors for other Korean adoptees in their fight to find their birth parents. We've been speaking to Korean-American adoptee Kara Boss. Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you.